Hi guys, hello and good morning. My name is Steve Pugh and you might see these every Friday at 9 o'clock, and what I try and do this week and every week is do a bit of a live Q&A session where throughout the week people send me in different questions, some of which are more challenging than others, and I won't lie, some of them are quite topical and quite interesting, so hopefully I'm going to cover those today. And basically what I do, I have a business course called the Roadmap MBA, and what we do is that we work on and we teach real world business skills to help people make that next step in their business or career. What does it look like? So basically it's an online course, but actually you get this 216 page textbook which goes through basically everything you need to know about growing a business, and to be honest, nothing you don't. There's no fluff in there. And then likewise, we've really gone hard on trying to make business education accessible, but almost to the point where if you can say something in one page as where other people might take 200. It's a classic example that when you read business books, you know, people always pad stuff out more than they want, or they try and use complicated words or whichever. That I really work hard to kind of simplify things down, but you know, just give you the value and kind of nothing else. But then also one of the big USPs of the course is that very few people actually talk about how you use all these different skills together. So you get people that talk about personal branding or talk about marketing or sales or strategy or whichever. But nobody, or very rarely, do people actually kind of bring these together to explain to you, to give you a proper roadmap for how to take your business forward or your career forward, basically through learning these kind of skills. Morning, Simon. I appreciate the comments. As Simon does every week, please feel free to get involved with the comments. Write where you're from. I know Simon's in the northeast of England, but also, you know, we've had people in the past join from India, from Dubai, from America, and it's that kind of just trying to build a community. But the other thing that I always kind of promote as well is that I never judge you or, you know, mind if you kind of plug your product or service as well. We're all kind of in this together, and actually use any opportunity as long as it's done kind of tastefully and you don't just spam the feed to kind of talk about stuff. You know, I really kind of appreciate your time. So in these Friday morning sessions, what I tend to do, I do a quick kind of recap on the week, purely because as an entrepreneur myself, one of my pet peeves is that when you get business coaches and people that talk the talk, but they don't actually deliver themselves, they don't actually demonstrate what they do themselves to kind of, you know, prove their worth. So for me, obviously I have the book and the course which people can look through, and welcome to a lot of the new people on the course this week. I know we've got Shaq and the guys at Noodle down in northeast of England, but we've got a lot of new people on the course, also some new airline pilots, so hello to you guys as well. And the idea is it's to teach real world skills that you can use. So it doesn't matter if you are a mid-level manager in a big bank, or you're starting your new kind of first time business or whichever. It's just having that extra helping kind of pair of hands to guide you on the kind of, it's the whole roadmap thing, give you the roadmap for kind of moving forward. But the big thing with this, and also on Tuesdays we have our classroom sessions, it's the ability to ask questions. So a lot of business books and courses and things that, yes, you might go on the day course to a venue, a conference center to kind of learn how to sell. But the issue is, as soon as you get home, you've got your often kind of crappy handouts, but you can't often like ask questions and actually, how do I apply this? We tried this and that didn't work. So part of the big thing, but the live streams that I now do kind of multiple times a week, it's just a way for people to ask questions, and it's that kind of extra guiding hand, which is hopefully what is useful. But no, please kind of get involved with the comments. So yes, my interviews started again recently, so I do these on Mondays at 4 p.m. This week, coming up, I'm speaking to Simon Clayton. So Simon is a marketing expert, but he also wrote this book, which I arrived and I finished this week. And we're going to talk through Simon's kind of journey, his backstory, how he started his business, how he's found it, and then using the book as a kind of reference, we're going to dig into, I think I've picked out 5 kind of main key topics that we're going to talk through as well. But hopefully that'll be really interesting. And with the interviews, I try and pick people that can really genuinely help your business or career. And yeah, you know, I hopefully will continue to do so in the future. The classroom sessions, which anyone is welcome to join, at least in the first kind of cohort. To date, we've done your aims and objectives, because for any business, you really kind of want to know where it is you're aiming to, so we can help kind of get you there. One is actually to do with personality traits, skill sets, and personal characteristics to develop, which business partners and employers and, you know, business people that you work with look for, and how to both identify those but develop them over time, and how they kind of help. Last week we did personal branding, And what this is about, it's what the world thinks about you or your business, both identifying what it is, but actually being able to change people's perceptions, especially if they're negative, but then likewise knowing what you want to put out into the world to really help make people think the positive things about your brand or business, purely because even if you're in sales and you do cold calling, the more people know about who you are, what your morals are, what's important to you, your backstory, your common interests, whichever, you will get a higher return on your sales phone calls, and you'll make more money. And because of that, it's also just showing people that having a good personal brand will genuinely help you in your business or career. And then from next week, we start to go into the kind of nuts and bolts on business strategy. So this is how you take all of the things that you have available and really know how to maximize them to help grow your business. And this is the main crux of the course, where it's, quality business kind of content, really kind of simplified down, but it will cover everything you need to know. And over the course of the whole Roadmap MBA, we cover basically everything you need to know to cover your business or career. So please kind of check it out, and it's www.roadmapmba.com if you want to kind of have a quick kind of walk through. But please kind of get involved in the comments. And the other thing which I just thought I'd mention, I'm just going to move my stuff around, is that one of the things that I do, and it's one of my strengths, I guess, is that I do kind of learn quickly, but I also continually work on myself. So these are 3 of the books that arrived this week, 4 if you include Simon's. And a lot of the stuff that I do is I spend the time to understand the content and then hopefully simplify it down. But I read all these books so you don't have to, because one of the big things that really is important to a lot of people is to do with time. And often entrepreneurs and people that have busy family lives, they have kids, they have lots of stuff going on, just don't have time to work on personal development. So the whole point of the Roadmap MBA is that you can pick it up for 2 minutes or 2 hours, just join the classroom sessions, just work on it in your own time, or watch all the videos online, just to kind of help you improve. And the whole point is that it's actually accessible. And that's something that I kind of really work hard on. So what time are we on? We're on 9:07. I'm going to get a quick drink of water. I didn't get a chance to go for a coffee this week, but it is Friday. And then I'm going to jump into the 3 main topics, which I'm going to do today. One is actually a question that came in, and it was to do with achieving financial freedom. Is it even possible? And how do you do it? It's a complicated question, complicated answer, but I'm going to try and do it in like a 5-minute kind of segment. One is to do with solving problems and how, like a Rubik's Cube, they're often multifaceted, that actually it's never just one fix to actually solve the problem. You do have to look at multiple things at once, but I'm going to touch on that. But actually you can make a massive difference to business issues through kind of taking that approach, looking at things holistically. And last but not least, I'm going to do one on productivity hacks. And this is something I get asked about a lot, because people ask, how do I get so much done? Or they don't believe that I'm 37, Matthew Ward last week. And the truth is, it's just breaking it down to really kind of, figure out how to get more productive time for you. But don't get me wrong, I don't, kill myself. I'm not one of these people you see on YouTube that does 15-hour days and stuff. I don't do that. But there are some really kind of good, easy, simple wins that hopefully are of interest. So please get involved with the comments. Simon, I'd love to know what you're up to. And yeah, hopefully for the next 30 minutes or so, I'll try and keep today's one quick. Ask me any questions, drop them in the chat. That is actually often one of the most fun things, is when people ask random questions, and it's just, that's the whole point of this. It is live, and I kind of work through it. So the first one I'm going to touch on today, and it's actually the most complicated, so I'm going to try and get this out of the way, and it's all about achieving financial freedom. What is my plan? Someone asked me, but then likewise, how can you go about kind of achieving it? So it's not easy. So please, take what I say in the next few minutes with a grain of salt, but it's more about the high level themes, and then we can kind of, drill down a little bit. So I purposely put the question mark at the end, because it's even a question of, is it possible? And it's not easy. But there are certain things that I just know from experience, and I know from being around, that you really kind of need to tackle. But if you get them right, it does kind of work. Good morning, Roberto. Hi, Simon. I think everyone, I'll be honest, wishes they had more time to read books. But I think one of the things that I've noticed, and I do read quite quick, but one of my pet peeves is when I read books and they're rubbish. and you think, I've just wasted 12 quid on that and God knows how many hours, and there's nothing worse, because then you kind of regret the decision, etc. So if I think something's really good, I'll try and take it and embrace it to then save you 20 hours reading the book, to maybe cover it in a 5-minute YouTube video. But it's that kind of thing, that time and being time poor is one of the things that I've really learned is a major driver. So you'll see me constantly trying to evolve over time to kind of improve that. But anyway, I'm going to jump back to the questions, but no, thank you for the comments. So in terms of achieving financial freedom, for me, there's 3 sides to it. So the first one it's actually knowing what you want, but likewise, it's knowing what makes you content, and I'll kind of go into that. So it's a classic human condition, and I actually think it's hardwired, and I've done a lot of kind of research on this, but it's almost where humans are animals and we are hardwired to evolve the species. That's just what we are, that's who we are. So we constantly always seek out threats and danger. It's part of the reason why humans will never be happy. There's an interesting concept called the purple dots, which is about how even in the, if you present someone no problems at all, or find the problem within this kind of range, humans will always find something, even if it doesn't exist. And the classic example is, we often complain about really small things in our lives that, seem really big at the time. It could be a bad email, it could be a bad conversation, it could be that someone, slighted you in the supermarket, etc. But then you compare that to other people, for instance, in the Middle East at the moment, there's a potential war going on, different levels of problems. But the point is, humans were just hardwired to kind of do this. But where this is concerned is that we all have wants, aims, and desires. I've been there, I'm still there in some ways. But actually, the truth is, if you achieve the Ferrari or the bigger house or whichever, often you get used to it over time. So actually, it might be a really big goal to strive towards, to buy that Porsche and really kind of, achieve that lifelong goal, which is fantastic. But over time, you will come to find kind of is just the car. And then what people then do is search for bigger and bigger goals to keep you on that treadmill, if that makes sense. The trick is actually finding what makes you content and what makes you happy, and almost knowing that even if you, I know some people that have got 30 million quid in the bank and they're miserable because they don't know what makes them happy, what makes them content. The one difference that people do value is experiences. So if you go on good holidays and things, or spend quality time with your family, the family experience is what you enjoy, and that is worth paying for. But the point is, when you kind of know what makes you content, you can build your life and be happy with that. That for me now, I used to have the nice cars and stuff. It's actually it's the creative side actually makes me happy. Costs me nothing, but actually it's kind of important. But that's a really important thing, because if you don't know what makes you happy, you'll constantly chase stuff which will make financial freedom almost impossible. And it's a mindset thing that maybe comes with age, but it's still important to look at. So the next one, so we've got know what you want. The next one is to do with your costs. And what I'm going to class this, because it's a business context, in terms of overhead. And you really want to kind of look at reducing your overheads where you can. In a personal capacity, that could be your mortgage, it could be your car payments, it could be your credit card interest payments, whichever. But when you're looking to build financial freedom and really kind of get to where you want to get to, actually reducing your costs is a really important thing, because we can control that. We can actually decide how big a house we live in, how much money we spend. Because if we know what we're content with, we don't overstretch, because actually you're kind of happy. But actually your costs are really important. And then the last one, which is the obvious one, is all about your income. And there are lots of things that we can do to help boost your income. We cover it in the course. And again, it can either be as an entrepreneur, as someone that works in a job that has a side hustle, or likewise someone that is, whatever kind of works for you. And there are lots of ways to grow that over time, which is fantastic. But the thing you want to do is you need to get the delta, the difference between what comes in, you want it there, and what goes out as big as possible. If you're an engineer, you draw a triangle to show the delta. It's an old fashioned thing. But basically, if you have outgoings of £1,000 a month, but you have £5,000 a month coming in, that's a good scenario to kind of be in, because either in a business context, you can then reinvest that to make more money and help building your income, or it just gives you the security to really kind of know that you can pay your bills, that actually if you were to lose your job and you've got a big cash buffer, you're in a good position. And actually financial security is one of the main things that people worry about, which keeps them awake, which makes them unhappy. So actually knowing that you're secure makes you content, which actually helps this whole thing work. So the trick is, from a business point of view, it's how do you reduce costs and then continually look at your suppliers and everything that you should do, even down to your payment terms, and we cover it all kind of in the course. But then likewise, the thing that everyone focuses on is your income. And the big thing for a lot of people in the real world is all to do with your mortgage. So for instance, me and my wife, we work hard, but also we're quite reasonable with our money, that we're hoping to have our mortgage paid off before too long. And then actually my overheads will drop dramatically, which then for me, which will be in about 3 years' time, give or take 4 years' time, is when I will class myself as being financially free, that I'll be in a really good position to just do the stuff that I want to do. And the truth is, I enjoy doing this. So you'll probably just see me kind of do this more or invest more into the business, which should help this column, but actually it makes me happy. And it's that kind of thing that you could have a business that brings in and pays you £200,000 a year, but if your costs are equally as high, and it's not really making you happy, you'll never be financially free. And it's just a mindset thing. But on a basic level, know what you want and know what makes you happy, and really kind of, you'd learn that over time. There's nothing wrong with wanting, nice financial things and rewards. For me, one of my goals is to buy a 911. It's one of my kind of goals. But for me, I will only do that after I've achieved what I want to with this. And I also know that I will enjoy having it, I'll take pride in it, but it won't make me happier. But I'm still striving for it, if that kind of makes sense. And don't get me wrong, there's a lovely house around the corner that I really want, and it could be 2-3 million quid. It's nice to have the goal, but actually I'm not going to kill myself to kind of get it. So hopefully that was useful. Joe, who asked the question, this is my kind of take on it, but if you've got any questions, kind of please feel free to send them in, and I'll jump on to the next one. Where are we? Oh, 9:17. I know I joke every week, but when you talk, actually ironically, it's when I think normally in just a normal office setting, everyone talks, but you sip without thinking about it, as we're actually, when you present stuff, you're very aware of what you're doing or not doing, that actually, I always feel bad to get a drink, but to be honest, you can't really kind of do this without it. So that was interesting. I'm going to jump on to the next one, which is actually to do with solving problems and why it's a lot more difficult than people think. So anyone that works in a business context, you might recognize one of these called a Rubik's Cube. The aim of this is to have everything lined up so you have all the same colors on the same side. But one of the tricks is that you can't actually, there are lots of ways to solve the problem, and you have to go backwards and forwards and really look at, there's an algorithm, there's a way to kind of, there's an answer to it. But what's really interesting just in terms of the concept is to get to the goal you want, or to solve the problem that you're dealing with. It's not always straightforward. So I had this for a client this week where basically they had a problem with, so you got sales, operations, you got people, and then clients. I purposely simplified that down, but basically in most businesses, these are some of the main kind of key drivers. Everyone wants to grow sales, and it's very easy to identify how we can do that. But then what's also interesting is that often the way to increase sales is actually to improve operations, which reduces the stress on people and keeps clients happy. And my point is that when with a client this week, we were looking at how we kind of solve a lot of these problems. There's some things that we were looking at with operations, to how do we kind of, fix that problem that we've got, because we had a client that was a little bit unhappy, which makes sense, and rightly so. Because of that problem and the client, we had people that were also unhappy because they're under the pressure to kind of deliver. But then likewise with sales, because sales are going really well, that was creating more problems. And what's the classic thing that any business that goes through a transition where you currently operate at a level, whatever that level is, if you basically double it and you start to win more work and you put more throughput through your business, it will create problems where you then have capacity issues, you have delivery issues, etc. But what's interesting is that that's a good sign, it's a good problem to have. The problem is, when this is quiet and your sales are flat and you've got nothing coming in, you're thinking, oh shit, how do we keep the business running? How do we do stuff? But what was interesting, you also have the issue to do with people. That people are the main core of a business, that if you put people under too much pressure, which could be potentially unfair, is that actually caused by decisions? So most companies have a board and they make decisions. And I know this sounds silly, but anyway, but there are decisions that you can make which actually improve this, make people happier, keeps the clients happier, and will improve sales. And it's all about a conscious decision about for where a business is, if it's profitable is the key kind of bit. What can you do and where can you invest your resource to really improve these things? So actually we looked at an issue where we can actually improve operations, which makes our people happier, which makes our clients happier, and will definitely help improve sales. And we did it this week, but the point was, it was a complicated issue. You couldn't just tackle one thing in one way. And what it turned out to, I'm just going to grab a different colour pen, was through looking to tackle that area in operations that actually solved all the other issues. Which again is interesting, because if you ask most people about how do you grow sales in a company, they would say improve your marketing, get a bigger sales force, etc. Not always the case. And it was just something that in terms of business problem solving, it often helps to step back, look holistically at everything that's going on, really try and figure out where the core crux of the problems are and how you can actually use that to have a happier business, healthier people, make more money, happier clients, etc. And it might not be where you think it is. But if you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to either email them in to questions@roadmapmba.com or drop it in the chat, or just send me, a direct message in LinkedIn. That's cool as well. Cool. See, I enjoy doing this because I always make notes, but I also kind of just wing it in the morning, because for one, it takes less prep time, but actually it's more genuine. And this is what I do, and I enjoy that. I hope that when I interact with different people, I always try and be very authentic about who I am, because I don't think you can kind of fake that. And if something is too pre-recorded, too rehearsed, whatever, it's not genuine. And the big thing about when you're looking at, working with different people and then building trust in you, I think it's really important to do that. So hence why I make my notes, but I just talk honestly with you about stuff I'm doing, because for me, that's where the real value is, that because I actually get paid to deliver these things all day, every day, it hopefully gives you more trust in the course that I kind of know what I'm talking about. But no, thank you, Simon. And yes, good things do come to those that wait. Okay. Last but not least, what are we on? We're on 9:23, so we're going quite quick today, which is good. And this might sound really bad, but when you look at company branding and your color schemes and stuff, I even try and get my pen colors to match the brand in the background. It's sad, but it's all those little details that hopefully, I kind of enjoy. And it's just, for me, this is part of the passion of actually trying to do what I do and trying to, add value as much as I can to the audience. Because again, this is all free, but hopefully it's kind of useful for a lot of you. Okay, so the next one is going to go to productivity hacks. So the question is, how do you get everything done that you need to get done to help you progress your career and move forward, or progress your business and move forward, or even just stay in business, etc. And the trick is to really kind of know what works, know what doesn't work, know what works for you, because it's going to be different for every different person, and then actually look at different options to kind of do that. I went to Brazil, God, when was it? It was about 10 years ago. And on the flight, I read a book from a guy called James Caan that used to be in Dragon's Den in the UK, which is our version of Shark Tank. And basically in his book, he said that he got to the point where he used to cut the grass in his garden every week. And his wife, this is when he was a multi-millionaire, his wife basically said to him, but it's not an efficient use of your time. Your time is valued at £100 an hour or £200 an hour. For you to be cutting the grass for 2 hours when we could pay someone 20 quid to do that. And it was that interesting mindset that he also talks about how it's important to invest in yourself and your brand. And we talk about that in our course. But it was a really interesting concept because for me, it's quite embarrassing, but I've told a few people, I outsource various different things. So I'm just going to write this down. And I don't just mean in a business context. I wear shirts. What you see is what I wear every day. So I wear different shirts every single day. And I've got a stock of about 22 different shirts, mostly from TM Lewin, or I tried Charles Thurwart recently, but I'm not a big fan. Anyway, and I actually use a guy called Rob in Gateshead that comes, collects all my shirts, takes them away, irons them and brings them back. He also does my dry cleaning. But what that does, it saves me hours and hours every week through having to do it myself, and it's very reasonably priced, but for the price, the time I get back allows me to do more stuff that, if I had to do all my own ironing, I wouldn't do. And we're not talking mega money here, we're talking like £1.20 a shirt or whatever, but the time it saves is brilliant. But it's something that I do to outsource to really kind of help me be more productive more of the time, and actually that really helps. One of the other ones which really helps, go to bed early. It's one of the classic things that when I was in my 20s, there was a point when I started my first business and I would stay up till midnight, 1 a.m, working away, working hard, be up again to then it was when I was doing my PhD and doing the business at the same time. And it was fine, but only because I was in my 20s and I could just about sustain it. And my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, encouraged me to come to bed at a reasonable time. So now, being honest, I'm in bed before 9 o'clock. But what it does do, it makes sure that I'm rested, I'm fresh, so that when I get up the next day, I'm rested and I'm fresh, and you can sustain it for a long time. As that we all go through periods where we work really hard, but you can't sustain that level, you'll end up crashing. Because most of us, so I'm 37 now, so I'll probably work until I'm 67, which means I have 30 more years of this that actually I need to pace myself. But actually going to bed early keeps you mentally refreshed, it gives you the the energy and stuff. That's really important. And off the same token, right, when you go to bed early, you can also wake up early. And it's that kind of thing of just having more time in your day to then get up, sort your own stuff out before emails start from other people, etc. And it's a really good productivity hack, which actually makes you a lot more productive. Most people, when they stay up late, either watching Netflix or playing on the Xbox or whichever, it's not productive time. So what we're talking about with this is productivity hacks. And there's nothing wrong with downtime, and I do a lot of the same things, but just being conscious of it. But one of the big things that I also wanted to talk about is actually your calendar. So I'm going to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Boop, 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 boop. So most people, I'm going to switch pens again, actually I'll stick with orange. So most people, when they work and they might go to an office, although they might be in work for 8 hours, they're often not productive for 8 hours. So they turn up at 9, do their stuff. And most people, as a genuine estimate, I think they're productive for about 5 hours a day. So 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. And what that means is that over the course of the week, if you're good at maths, they get 25 hours of productive time per week. But actually, through getting up early and doing my own things, I kind of start working a little bit earlier, but then I might tinker a bit in the evening. But I kind of worked it out, and I actually do about 8 hours productive time a day. And that's because, to be honest, I'm passionate about this and I really kind of throw myself into it. That I'm very efficient with my time. I try not to waste any time because, again, I get paid by the hour. And I worked it out that I work on average about 8 hours, or I achieve about 8 hours of productive time a day. And that's, yes, I do work slightly longer hours, but it's just really being efficient about the stuff that you do. One of the things that I also do to help save time, and it's that saving of time which actually makes me be more efficient. A year ago, I was in my back bedroom of the house, and every time I would do an interview or a live stream, I had to set up all the lights from scratch, get it all set up, and actually it took like hours at a time. So what was like on, streamed was a 1 hour interview. In practice, it's probably taken me 4 hours, which is an eighth of my week or a tenth of my week gone just through being not productive. So actually just having the studio now means I walk in, everything's already set up. I don't have to set things up. And that saves me probably half a day a week, which is half a day that I can then work on stuff or client work or whichever, or live stream that I didn't have a year ago. And it's just through being more efficient kind of with my time. But the other thing as well is to ask yourself, what is it you do on weekends? And I say this not because you want to work on weekends, but it's about how it's really understanding what your hobbies are. So you have people that do photography, that go cycling, that do whichever. For me, the creative side and actually doing this kind of is my hobby, which is, it's a bit sad, but it's true. So actually I kind of worked it out that I probably spend 2 hours productive every Saturday and every Sunday. Which from my maths, because I did work this out, over the course of the week equals 44 productive hours that I believe that I kind of do every week, which on average is 76% more than most people. And then related to this as well is that because I am passionate about this, but this will be true for a lot of entrepreneurs, holidays aren't really a thing. So if you work in a company and you're an employee, you probably work 48 weeks a year, which is 25 hours a week, but basically 1,200 productive hours, a year. And that's something that we used to use at a previous company is one of the norms when you're looking at estimating how can you pay for salaries and stuff. So basically, I'll do that. 25 times 48 weeks equals 1,200 productive hours a week. But as an entrepreneur, it's quite rare that you get, 4 weeks off a year because you've got people to keep happy and you're trying to build something that you're passionate about. And I worked it out that I probably take 2 weeks off a year. So instead of 48 weeks, I have 50 weeks. But then if you take the 44, that should be 48 times 50 equals 2,000. So actually, if you look at every year, on average, I have almost double the amount of productive hours versus people that go in and just do a day job. But because of that, you're able to accelerate your business quicker, put more time into your personal development, do things like the Roadmap MBA, but it's to learn those skills which will help you accelerate and achieve or overachieve against everyone else. But when you actually kind of do the maths, I get into the office on average maybe 7:30, 8 o'clock every day, and I'll probably here till 6. But it's how you kind of use that time. And even on weekends, I don't work full days, but I just do bits. But this all really kind of does add up to really kind of help. But yeah, productivity hacks like outsourcing your ironing or, things like that, that if you ever have the option to, is really kind of valuable. And yeah, one of the other things as well is just when I was saying before about how reading lots of books and different things, is that when you understand how you learn, and we all kind of learn differently. Some people are very visual, some people like words, etc. But the more you kind of build your knowledge on a topic, that actually acts as a way that's your kind of base load. So the more you add around that, so for instance, I know a lot about marketing. So for instance, when I read Simon's book, which I'll plug on Monday, because I already knew a lot of the content, I flew through it in about 2 hours, but that was purely because you're kind of building on existing knowledge. So everything we're trying to do with your business or career, the more time you spend on it, you will actually accelerate away, which is really kind of important. It's not always going to be a big kind of hard slog. But then likewise with the live streams and the Q&As and the classroom sessions, if you do ever have any questions, happily please kind of send them in. Cool, so I believe that is my 3 things for today. What time are we on? 9:34, so being relatively quick today, which is cool. So just to plug again, so the interviews, Simon Clayton on Monday at 4 p.m. Really interesting guy. We're going to go through his backstory, how he started his first business, and then talk about some really interesting stuff. We've got the NEPIC event, which if you can kind of sign up to, I normally post about it on my social media. What we're going to be looking at is business strategy and how it's to make sure that people are getting the most out of everything they have. And I'm going to kind of go into that, but I don't want to steal. I have prepared it all, but I'm going to save that for that event, but it's really kind of worth checking out. It's also free. And then the other thing as well, you've got the Roadmap classroom sessions on Tuesdays, which you're welcome to join. And something else which I started this week as well was to interview subject matter experts on different topics, which I think is really interesting and really kind of quite useful. So I spoke to a lady called Amy Sargison from Muckle LLP, and it was actually all to do with the EU settlement scheme, which you are, if you are an employer in the UK or you're a foreign national living here, it's really important to know what to do, how to solve it. And if you check out the social media, you should get the links to that as well. So my name's Steve. Genuinely, thank you for your time. Simon, thank you as always. Roberto, thank you for commenting. All of this gets clipped up and goes onto YouTube. So if you want to check back on this or any other stuff, search for Steve Pugh Roadmap MBA on YouTube. Thank you for your time once again, and hopefully catch up soon. All right, cheers guys. Have a great day.